Hi, I'm State Senator John Morse from the 11th Senate District in El Paso County, and I serve as the Senate Majority Leader. A little wrap-up of what happened in the Senate this week. This whole session is really about jobs and balancing the budget. And this week we spent a good chunk of our time dealing with the budget. In the current year, which ends at the end of June, we have a $266 million shortfall, so our budget forecast came in short by that amount of money on roughly $7 billion. So we've got to close that $266 million gap. And next year, right now, we forecast the gap to be an additional $1.2 billion. So this week we spent time working on that $266 million gap. One of the things that we did was to move the surplus in the Secretary of State's office back to the general fund so that we could spend that on education programs instead of having to cut those education programs. And there's certainly an argument that that money belongs to the Secretary of State, but in reality, every dollar that comes into the state of Colorado is overseen by the legislature and the people's representatives, and they constantly reshuffle and reprioritize based on what's going on in the moment. So we took that $4 million here to say that'll keep us from having to make further education cuts, and there was certainly some debate about that. There was also some movement of some other cash funds, and it was very interesting that the debate was, well, you can't cut this because this is really important to people, and this is important to this part of the state or that part of the state. But the reality is, in this economic downturn, we're all having to tighten our belts and do a whole lot more with a whole lot less, and in some circumstances, we're having to do something not at all because we frankly don't have the money to do it anymore. We're having to make big cuts. And I alluded to next year's budget, and that's really what's going to be going on next week on the Senate floor, is we'll be talking again about the current year budget, but also you'll be seeing in the legislature and around in the news, the governor will introduce his budget proposal for next year, which again is going to require us to make big cuts to K-12 education, higher education, prisons, Medicaid. We may end up having to, unfortunately, close a school near you, although that'll be up to your local school boards, but they're going to be getting a lot less money from us at the state level, so they're going to have to make some tough decisions as well. So please feel free to visit our website at coloradosenate.org, and we look forward to seeing you on the Senate floor next week.
My name is Bill Cadman, State Senator from House District 10. I'm the Assistant Minority Leader in the Senate. Senate Republicans had a successful week of advancing the principles of good government and cutting red tape in our legislative efforts. Senator Roberts' resolution calling on the state and federal government to refrain from unfunded mandates passed out of committee with unanimous support. We anticipate that we'll continue to have bipartisan support for this resolution as we take up the vote on the Senate floor, hopefully next week. Another important bill was Senator Ted Harvey's. It puts an end to the government's policy of picking winners and losers in the taxicab industry. This bill received bipartisan support in the Business Affairs Committee, and we anticipate it passing in the Appropriations Committee. There were some disappointments as well. Unfortunately, partisan politics got in the way of lower utility costs for Colorado families and businesses. Utility bills are increasing beyond inflation rates and energy prices. This is not a shock to anybody listening. We believe that these increases are mostly due to the unfunded mandates from this government over recent years. The Democrats killed 3 bills that would have reversed this trend. These were unfortunate losses for Colorado families and Colorado businesses, especially in difficult economic times as we are in. We need to work to keep these utility costs down, and these bills would have helped to do just that. Looking ahead for next week, Senate Republicans will be proposing legislation to phase out job-killing business personal property tax, limiting the number of state employees who are commuting to work in state-owned vehicles at taxpayers' expense, and a much-needed rainy day fund to protect Colorado from volatile swings in the economy. If you'd like to catch up on these issues as well as many others that we're working on in the Capitol, please go to our website, coloradosenatenews.com. Thank you.